Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm your tutor, Disha. Today we'll be working the Cape Environmental Science 2016 Unit 1, Paper 2, open-ended questions. The first question says, distinguish between sedimentary biogeochemical cycles and gaseous biogeochemical cycles. In your response, give one example of each. Firstly, let's define the term biogeochemical cycle. Bio, biosphere. Geo, lithosphere. Chemicals, elements. Cycles, circulation. Hence, a biogeochemical cycle is the cycling of chemicals, elements, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, through the biotic factors, which are the living things, and the abiotic factors, which are the non-living things, like the land and the soil. Sedimentary biogeochemical cycles, as the name suggests, these cycles have their main pool or reservoirs located in the Earth's crust, like the soil, the sedimentary rocks. And an example of a sedimentary biogeochemical cycle is the phosphorus cycle. And you can find phosphorus in the rocks and in the soil. And then for gaseous biogeochemical cycles, the main reservoir or pools for these cycles are located in the air, the atmosphere. And an example of this would be the oxygen or the carbon cycle. Moving on, distinguish between intraspecific competition and interspecific competition, and explain why intraspecific competition is more intense. Intra, within. Intraspecific competition describes competition between organisms of the same species. For example, in a forest, you would have a group of cedar trees competing for sunlight. And interspecific competition is competition between organisms of different species. For example, in a jungle, you would have a lion and a leopard competing for the same prey. Now, with the distinction, you can clearly see that intraspecific competition is much more intense. Why? Because you have these organisms who have the same niche competing for the same resources. Therefore, the better predator will have a greater chance of survival. A. State 3 ways in which primary ecological succession is different from secondary ecological succession. Now, succession describes the process by which communities become developed, established, and changed. And with primary, this type of succession occurs in an area that has not been previously inhabited by a community. For example, the volcano in St. Vincent liberated dunes, lava flow, and new rocks. So organisms who can tolerate that harsh environment can therefore establish a successful community. And then with secondary, this type of succession describes the reintegration of plants and animals in an area that has been previously destroyed. Using the same example again, the volcano from St. Vincent created lava flows which destroy habitats and living things, and then over time we can have plants and animals recolonizing the area. E. Define the term limiting factor and explain how limiting factors operate in the environment. Now, a limiting factor is a resource or an environmental condition that limits or stops the growth and distribution of an organism or even populations. Examples of limiting factors include food, water, shelter, or even a mate. And the availability of these limiting factors can therefore limit the growth of a population.